ahead. Bust it.
What's up, guys? Welcome to Raceface. Oh, I don't know why our camera quality looks so weird tonight. A little bit of low lighting. The backlighting not working quite so well, but welcome nonetheless. It's the racing that counts, and it is the Season 4 grand opening here at Zandvoort. We had a great Season 3, so Raceface Season 4 here in the GT3s is going to be epic. The entry list is just insane. As soon as I can get into the server, we'll be going over to getting into quali and getting on with the show. So it's going to be absolutely insane. There's 4 tiers, over 186 entries across all the divisions. So incredibly big lobbies coming out, and I'm not quite sure why this webcam didn't pick up the backlight properly, so I apologize for that. I'll fix it up throughout the season. We won't have the weird crackly background. So whilst I wait for our servers to go live, I know that people will be wondering what the race format is tonight, and we'll have an 80-minute race, so an hour and 20 minutes out on circuit. a mandatory pit stop will be there for the drivers to make, and they have to go and change their tires. So it's going to be interesting to see how strategy plays out. Zandvoort is going to be a difficult track, and our service will be going up shortly. I need to try and see if I can let me see if I can try and fix this camera. It hasn't quite auto-corrected either. Let's see if we can fix this thing up a little bit. Not quite. It's gone darker. I'm not sure. Oh well. It will be better. So Pro Division looks like it's going live. We should be able to switch over to the race session shortly. When I say race session, I mean quali session. So let's just see how things go out. Shout out to everybody in the chat. Thanks for being here. Looking forward to the season. And custom liveries, we've thrown those in again. So hopefully those don't cause my session to crash. But let's go over. Let's see what's crack-a-lacking over in the race server. Let's pull up our correct broadcasting times. Let's pull up some game sound as well. Let me know how the audio levels sound whilst we go. I'll be able to tweak them on the fly, hopefully. So whilst they're just in the pit box here, this is just a session to make sure that everybody can connect okay. It looks like I've had a server issue getting in, so it could also just be that we're just making sure everything works out for all the drivers. They were also having a couple of issues. Give me 1 second. I'll be right back. So let's just see if the server is going back again. Let's see if it was just on my end getting into the server. Plenty of cars on the grid. I think up to 40 here in Pro. Let's just see that we can get in. Looks like I have got back in. Okay, so there we go. We should be okay. Let's go back over to our racing scenes. Pull up our broadcasting hub. So there's just a 2-minute free practice here for everybody to make sure that they can get into the session okay. And hopefully everybody does manage to get in. So we have been told as well that drivers aren't meant to be driving in this practice session out. They're meant to just stay in the pits, make sure everyone gets into the session. But a couple of drivers are going to be out. I'm not sure if I heard it correctly. So we're just going to make sure everybody can connect to the lobby. It's important for the start of the season as well to just make sure no one has those kind of connectivity problems. So we've got 28 seconds left of the practice session before we go over to quali. I think it's a 20-minute qualifying session here at Zandvoort. So plenty of time for the drivers to get themselves onto a good qualifying position for the grid. And hopefully everybody manages to get themselves the quali time that they want. It's always difficult with a full grid. And on a circuit like this, it can be a little bit harder. So we are going to go live. Just making sure. It looks like the end of practice has come through. Looks like everybody seemingly getting in okay, which is a good sign. It's a good sign. So in just a second, we should be able to get some visuals out. Qualifying is live. Looks like JC Krobler from Retro Esports going to lead us out for this quali session. Again, thanks to everybody out in the chat. If you're supporting anybody in particular out here, don't feel ashamed to shout their names loud and proud. we'll try and give it as much exposure to as many drivers as we can. Like I said, there's going to be quite a scrap up towards the front. Some really big names. And I'm excited. 37 cars take to the grid for this quali session. So it will be JC Krobler to lead us out on what will be his warm-up lap before he goes and sets a banger of a quali lap, or so we hope. And a man who's put in a lot of time into the sim racing community and has got better and better throughout the duration. He's had a couple of mishaps, but he's redeemed himself as well. And on a mission here to prove himself with a new team with Retro. So looking forward to seeing what JC Krobler brings to the table. We'll just stay along with him as he goes out. He'll be our first quali lap on the circuit. Junior McCall out here in his Lamborghini. Good to see some Lambo representation as well. Jason Absmeyer in the lone McLaren. He's going to be the second to set a quali lap out here. So we're all good to go. Let's follow along with JC. Made his way out of turn 1, going towards turns 2 and 3. And of course, you can see on the little circuit guide, if I bring it up, the track map here, just how many cars are on the circuit. Just look how insanely crazy that grid is. It is going to be wild out here. And I was privy to the driver's briefing. I heard what they were told. Everything needs to be clean and tidy here in Season 4 of the Pro Division. No exceptions to the rule. Clean passes, clean overtakes. It'll be interesting to start to see as the times stack up. So they've got 20 minutes to set a quali time, which is plenty of time, I feel, around Zandies to get a good lap in. So I really do expect those times to be quite close together throughout the pack. And I just like to extend that thought process out to just how many drivers from different communities have all come out here and starting to get a semblance of all the good drivers that we've got in South Africa getting together, bar a few. And I know the few. I've been encouraging them to sign up for the season as well if they've got some time. But it really is going to be a star-studded grid. So JC Krobler rounded the final corner over the line with a 1:35.562 to kick things off. So it will be a provisional pole as Brian Lewis goes and sets himself a third place. Well, it's going to change up. Etienne Kleb going to jump himself up into second place with a 1:35.988. Arne Visaki going to set pole position with a 1:35.409. Quade Claessens does a 1:35.508, stacks himself up to second place. Arne Visaki, the man, though, in that Bentley, who's currently on provisional pole, will be topped out by Johan Bego Grobler from Team Tryhard Racing. And, of course, they're sponsored by Resource Complete, one of our stream sponsors, too. So all very cool. All the sponsors coming out to the yard. And Johan Bego Grobler going to get himself onto a provisional pole in his Lamborghini. Down the order, Lionel Klue going to stack himself up from Phoenix Racing. That 969 gets himself up to 5th place. Leslie Oliphant from BWSR. They've also picked themselves up a new sponsor. Of course, First Technologies you'll see on the side of the car. So First Technologies, Patterson Works Racing has got themselves 2 drivers out here. It will be Kieran Patterson and Leslie Oliphant. As we look up the board, a man who we have not seen in some South African sim racing for a while. He's been very busy overseas. One of the Coach Dave Academy test drivers. He does all the setups as well. Well, he's part of the team that does the setups for Coach Dave Academy. Out here in a BMW, that 889 here, of course, tarnished in the Coach Dave Academy livery. That looks oh so dashing. Some South African flags on the back wing. Bit of a fan, Brian Lewis, going to jump himself up to second place, it looks like, ahead of Chris Shorter. And this is just going to be an absolutely phenomenal race. I'm telling you right now, the names that we're seeing just darting up the board, we haven't even got ourselves down anywhere past 15th place yet. But it is going to be a shootout that we wanted to see. Junior McCall up on the board into 4th place. So JC Krabler knocked down a couple of times to still come in. Bernard King sitting in 14th place for Rad Races. Keegan Masters going to slot himself into 15th place for G4 Sim in his Porsche 991. Bernard Barkhazen in 16th place. I know Barkhazen got some fans in the chat. Squeaky there, we see you. Francis Vogel, 17th place, that number 105. Victor de Kock for White Rabbit Gaming. He's coming in as a lone GTR, I believe. I don't know how many listens we actually have. We might have more than one. I'll have to go through the entire running before we commit to that. I know that one of the Resource Complete Team Tryhard Racing cars used to be that GTR. Paul Gabby here in that Lamborghini, going to jump himself up to 11th place. So let's start to follow along some of these lap times that are up. Leslie Oliphant currently up on his time, coming into that final chicane. 2 corners to go. And he's currently 8/10 up on his time. So this is going to put him within striking distance of the leaders. Of course, 1st to 16th place, currently separated by only a second. So this is what we want to see. This is the pro tier, and it will bring a smile to my face as I say these things. Leslie Oliphant jumps himself up to 3rd place, goes and does a 1:34.986. So good enough for 3rd. 1.83 seconds off the likes of Morgan McCall, who is our pole sitter for the moment. So Anna Visagi been knocked down to 4th place. Morgan McCall sits up front for ATK in that 514 AMG. Chris Shorter, who sits in 2nd place, also sits out in the pit box. So not yet looking to set a quicker time. Tracking along, JC Krabler here down in 14th. He's 2/10 up. 2/10 from 14th place will get him up to potentially maybe a top 10 if he can. Dian Kapp and Jason Absmeyer 5/10 off the leaders, but potentially in striking range from JC Krabler. He's found a 3rd or an extra 10th too. Goes up 3/10, and it is looking very strong for the number 213 Ferrari. It's a nice mixture of cars on the grid as well. Really no absolute dominant force. I guess the Audi, we'd say. There's quite a couple of Audis out in the pack. No one up towards the front of the order looking to rival some times. But JC Krabler on a flyer of a lap right now. 6/10 up. He's got a bit of traffic in front of him. Shouldn't be too much of an issue. Should be able to round out the lap. Maybe get a little bit of tow as well. Some slipstream down the straight. 6/10 up. Currently in 14th place. This lap will put him up into 3rd place. So starts towards the front end of the grid on the 2nd row. In fact, 1:34.950 for the Retro Esports Ferrari. Pull up a timetable. Give us the positions from 1st to 24th. McCall, Shorter, Krabler, Masters, Oliphant, Visagi, McCall, Lewis, Enslin, and Bego Krabler round out the top 10. Then we've got Absmeyer, Kapp, Klaasens, Gabbe, Klue, Rowe, Kleb, Albertine, Strauss, and King rounding out the top 20. Peters, Kraling, Patterson, and Duploy down to 24th place. Beyond that, where you guys cannot see, let me pull it down for you. You've got Barkhazen, Vogel, Radloff, De Kock, Skitter, and Ecoat in the 30th place. 32nd, Jason Webb. Currently looking to get some pace and some time out here. Glasshagen, King, Antel, Gambon, Van Koller, Van Veek, Hendricks, and Sinnerin. All the way down. We've got 40 cars now in the grid. The thing's starting to get really interesting. 10 minutes left of quali to go. The Milk E-Juice, number 45, of Jason Webb. Know he's got the potential to be higher up the order. Struggling to probably find himself some space in the very, very packed out circuit of Zandvoort here. And he's letting past the cars that are on flyer laps. He needs to get himself some good air to set himself a decent time. And Darren King, our international participant, of course, Del King racing for Fordzilla. He was here in Season 3. He's returned for Season 4. He wants to take the battle out, I believe, to Jordan Sherritt. Jordan Sherritt not here this evening. Will be back with us next week, racing in the GT3s. But a free round coming out from Darren King if he doesn't have his rival out here on the circuit. Morgan McCall maybe looking to take some of that battle there. Just 100 separates first and second currently. First to 20th place now is our sub 1 second mark for the lap times in this quali session. So it really is getting close between all the drivers, finding what they can as Darren King runs a little bit wide. Junior McCall up a 10th in that number 99 Lamborghini. And such a difficult circuit here to make moves, so you really want to get yourself a good quali. We saw the GT4 season for Raceface kick off last night, and it's always good to have the drivers coming out to a familiar circuit if they are entering into both series. So in the GT3s here at Zandvoort. Beamerstein out in the chat. That's a name that I haven't connected with in a long time, but good to see you, brother. Really the start of my sim racing all through drifting and Beamer. So good to see you, brother. I see all your progress that you're making in the sim racing scene over on the socials. So always proud to see fellow sim racers and enthusiasts of the community going out and doing things. Tian Cap up 3/10 in his Kaike 321 Ferrari. He's currently just ahead of Quade Claessens, who's also up by 4/10 in his Porsche. So there's 7 minutes of quali to go. So a decent 3 laps still to come out from the drivers here. Dian Cap rounds the final corner. 13th place provisionally now. Should find himself 3/10 behind, 2/10 behind the leaders, in fact. 0.198. Goes into 7th place with a 134.956. And the 134s are rolling out. So from first down to 11th place, all sort of hanging into the 134s. Then 135s from 12th down to 27th place. 36s from 29th down to about 38th. So it really, there are going to be battles out on track between drivers throughout the field, and that's what we want to see. Yuri Absmeyer in the chat as well. Good to see you. Xander shouting out for BWR. Good to see all the BWR drivers coming out to Raceface for the season as well. I was chatting to a good friend about it early on. Always nice to see big teams making the moves and entering into some of the other leagues, and we appreciate all the BWR drivers coming out and giving Raceface a try. If you guys haven't already, shared the stream, smashed like on the button if you are liking what we're doing. If you hate it, you're most welcome to dislike the stream. All engagements are engagements, I suppose. But yeah, if you're feeling up to it, give it a like, share it with your homies or your family, your grandma. I talked about this before. Grandmas probably like watching sim racing more than they like hanging out with the grandkids these days. So with lockdown and all that, people need a little bit of excitement, and I feel like sim racing gives everybody a nice escape from it. There's not only a pro division. There's actually 4 divisions out here, and we have over 180 entries into the field. So it's about 40 cars across all the divisions, maybe a couple more down the order as well. So it really is a stacked field. So you guys can pretty much slot in wherever you want. If you guys are interested in broadcasting and bringing some race action, we are looking to stream some of the other divisions too. So if you are a broadcaster and you like to talk about some sim racing, just reach out to us on the Raceface Discord. Hit up Batters Hugo, the man behind the plan of Raceface, and let's get some more broadcasting going. It would be really cool to have all the divisions broadcast at some point. So if you know someone with a voice and looking to do a bit of broadcasting in their spare time, just reach out and it would be cool. It would be really cool if we can get everything out there. And the shootout between McCall and King is now there. I said maybe Sherritt was needed here to bring King the rivalry he wanted, but doesn't look like that's going to be the case. Morgan McCall here is going to top King's pole sitting lap. There's only 4 minutes left of this quali session to go. And, oh, it's going to be so good. Bamolo in the chat as well. Our resident, he was a daddy racer, Kai K driver. He's dipped away from sim racing. Hopefully going to be back again. But always good to see everybody out here supporting, showing their messages in the chat. We like to have a little bit of an interactive stream here as well. Something I learned from Alan Patterson. It's nice to have a chat to everybody whilst we have the racing going on the circuit. And during the quali sessions, you know, time's getting a little bit closer together. I'll pull up a timetable again so we can have the viewers follow along if there's specific drivers that you want to see. But the track conditions here, 30 degrees on the circuit, 22 degrees ambient. And it's going to be an interesting race, I feel. Turn one. I saw in the GT4s, we had a nice, relatively clean start last night. We had a much smaller grid, though, I must admit. It looks like we only have 23 cars in the grid here. But if I scroll down and show you where Jason Webb currently sits in 35th, you'll see that the grid goes all the way down to 40th. The times out here are just incredible. Just look how close everybody is. From first down to 35th, 1.6 seconds separate them. I mean, that is just insane. And I feel like drivers also realize that there are going to be some big battles going on the circuit. So although you might not get the quali that you wanted to get, there's still time to be made up in the race. Zandvoort, maybe not the circuit that you really would expect that to be at, but I feel like the pro division here is going to show us where the passing can take place. Fair and honest is what we're looking for. We're looking for a nice, clean race between everybody. I think that brings the excitement down. So with 1 minute 20 on the clock, Quade Claasen's 2/10 up on his time. Our front running Porsche. Interesting to see the stack of cars from 1st to 6th place. Completely different manufacturers. Mercedes, Ferrari, Lamborghini, Porsche, Audi, and Bentley in the top 6. And Floyd pointing out, we got the Mercs bringing up the front and rear. Maybe a safety car and a medical car coming out onto the circuit. Hopefully we're going to see Mr. Zihir Issa in one of these races if he manages to make the time. I want to see him coming out and dancing out with King and Sherritt and Morgan McCall. Oh, the big names. Bashir Jadwad, when he's back and recovered. I know he's been on the mend. Bring all the boys to the yard. Have a big sim racing party. So 20 seconds left on the clock of official quali. Drivers out on circuit will be able to set their final times. Bego Krobler's up 2/10 in that TTH number 15 Lambo. Zahir, you're absolutely right, brother. I need another Porsche on here. They've all ditched it. You know, they felt that Kunos gave it the nerf and everybody's abandoned ship. So lonely Porsches compared to our Porsche Cup that we've seen as of late. Bring Raymond as well. Come and show them what it's like, what the Porsche can still do. So Bego Krobler, a 10th up, going to cross the line. I don't know if that's going to be enough. Will better his time, but will remain in position. Keegan Masters from G4 Sim. He's up on his time. I say that commentator's curse takes that 10th away from him. I call out my commentator's curse. He finds the 10th again. So, maybe I'll just keep quiet until he finishes out his lap. It's virtually impossible for me to do that. So, unfortunately, we'll just have to see what happens. But Keegan Masters definitely dancing with finding a little bit more. And this could potentially just get him up one spot to cap if he holds it together right till the line. Timing sheet not showing that he's up on his time though, so I'm not going to promise anything. Will he better his time? Will he get up to cap? So no, a 1:34.971 coming out, and will stay in 9th place. Bashir is here. Bash, it's like I just talked about you, and then I summoned you out to the broadcast. So many familiar names in the chat, so many familiar names in the lobby. And it really is going to be a good race out here. So let's pull up the timetable. McCall will start in pole position. Darren King starts in second. Quade Claassens in third. So a good showing from the ATK boys coming out here. Getting up towards the front of the order. Junior McCall also up there in 4th place. Chris Shorter in 5th. Arne Visaki starts 6th. JC Krabler in 7th, Dian Cap in 8th, Keegan Masters in 9th, Leslie Oliphant in 10th, Alaric Enslin in 11th, Jason Absmeyer in 12th, Brian Lewis in 13th, 14th for Johan Bego Krabler, Paul Gerber in 15th, Daniel Rowe in 16th, Lionel Clue in 17th, Christian Duploy in 18th, 19th for Francis Vogel, Etienne Kleb in 20th, Albertine, Grayling, Patterson, Ansel Strauss, Webb, King, Peters, Van Veek, Glashagen, Ecoat, Barkhazen, Radloff de Kock, Skitzer, Gambon, Van Lachenberg, Van Kalla, Hendricks, and Sienerin round out the grid of all 40 cars. And this is going to be incredible to watch. I'm excited. I'm hoping for a good clean T1. Always get caught off guard when things go amiss. So hopefully we're not going to get any surprises coming out. Some really big names. I mentioned it a couple of times, and hopefully they all know what to do on circuit. This is a really, really stacked out grid, and it really is going to be a good race. So 30 seconds before we go out on our outlap, of course. This is the Raceface GT3 Season 4, brought to you by Resource Complete and Black Ribbon Sim. And a big shout out to 186 entries across all the divisions coming through. So if you guys are looking to enter, the entries actually stay open all the way through the season. You just obviously don't amass as many points. Black Ribbon Sim providing a pair of Sparko Sim Racing gloves again to the season winner. GT3 winner last season picked that up. And there's also a little spot prize for the overtake of the season, which runs through all the divisions. Drivers are urged to just keep their replays if they want to submit for that competition running out. So 2 pairs of Sparko gloves up for grabs from Black Ribbon Sim. I wish I could get a pair of Sim Racing gloves. Maybe a pair of Sim Casting gloves to work the mouse and the cameras. I don't know if it's enough justification. I think the pro drivers are more deserving of such prizes, and always cool to have sponsors jumping on board. If you guys are looking to get involved in anyhow, I've said it before, would love to be able to broadcast all the divisions. So if you are an aspiring broadcast and sim racing caster, feel free to message us. I'm more than happy to help out and put people in the right direction, get them on track with what they need to do. But it'd be really cool to have all the divisions broadcast out there. So let's pull up that timetable as McCall leads us out on that formation lap. An hour and 20 minutes of racing with a mandatory pit stop with a required tire change will be here. So I'm not quite sure of where the pit window opens up. I think it opens up for an hour after 20 minutes, as far as I know, or maybe after 10 minutes. Again, we'll figure it out as we go. But I do know they do have to make that mandatory stop. So everybody just getting themselves up to their starting positions. Morgan McCall bunching the pack up a little bit, and his younger brother driving past saying, listen, get a move on. We all want to get going here. So soon, they'll line up 2 by 2. And it is going to be an absolute showdown here today. See if we can get a little track map up. Just look at how many cars are on the grid. 40 GT3 cars at Zandvoort. I feel like it's almost the track limit in terms of how many cars should be allowed to be out there. As just look how far out they are. All trying to get themselves into a starting position. So the sim will regulate all of this, get them to bunch themselves up 2 by 2, and hopefully everybody gets around to be able to start out the race. It looks like we will come around the final corner. This is going to be good. Bruno in the chat, my homie, my White Rabbit driver, taking a bit of a break for the moment. Good to see him supporting us here in the sim race community still. Much love. We're about to go live for the start here, and a green light goes as drivers down the pack. A whole bunch of cars darting across the track for position. Need to be careful with so many cars out here. Into turn 1 we go. I'm going to try and see if we can catch as many cars coming through here as we can. I'll try and jump through the camera orders. It looks like most of our grid getting through okay. The back of the order, a couple of cars going side by side. I do see an Audi off track down the line. Up towards the front of the order. Looks like a good start though from McCall. He's got away from Darren King. And King holding on to the back. Looks like Quade Claessen's going to also be jumping himself up in the mix. Our timing sheet will go absolutely mad as things start out here. McCall is under incredible attack here from the front of the order. Chris Shorter, he holds down 4th place temporarily, but Darren King really getting onto Morgan as quick as he can. Doesn't want to let him run away, and this is very important, I feel, in these endurance races. The front of the order needs to keep the leaders in check. I see an incident on the track map down at the back of the order. There are cars involved. Looks like just 1 or 2 going down. Let's just start to see where everybody finds themselves sitting. So Quade Claessen's holds on to 3rd place here. Chris Shorter there in 4th. Arne Visagi in 5th. A nice little pack getting themselves away from the main pack of GT3 cars. Keegan Masters then in a little bit of open air in 6th place. Dion Cap also chasing down Brian Lewis. Those 3 sort of lead on to what is then a mass pack of Olifant, Enslin, Gaber, Absmeyer, and Rowe. Lionel Clue then slots into 14th place in that 969. And a very nice start coming out from all our drivers here. This is what we needed to see. And it is a good night's racing, well, the start of a good night's racing, getting that down. Junior McCall, he's down in 17th place here. So things not going quite right, I don't feel, for Junior there. But he's going to be making his way back up the order. Let's just stick up towards the front for a little bit. Let's just see how things bode. Quade has got himself away from the likes of Shorter for a little bit. So he's going to have himself a nice bit of fresh air to try and reel in the likes of King in front. Arno Visagi, he's the one that is pressuring Shorter. And this is what's stopping Shorter from being able to get onto the likes of Claessen's. So this little battle behind Claessen's is exactly what he wants. He wants this Bentley of Visagi to hassle Shorter as much as he can. And that's exactly what Visagi is trying to do at this point in time. We'll go to the splitter cam from that 94 Bentley as he follows behind the number 33 Audi of Shorter. There's the Olifant from First Technologies Patterson Works Racing. He's got Enslin all over the back end. And that BMW, the lone BMW in the grid as well. The Coach Dave Academy car piloted around by Alaric Enslin. Mentioned it early on, a driver we haven't seen competing much in the local scene anymore. But good to see him back out in the field. Currently holds down 10th place. And trying to put as much pressure as he can onto the likes of Olifants. Jason Absma and Daniel Rowe, they seem to also be in similar situations. Daniel Rowe trying to pressure that McLaren of Absma in front into making mistakes and doing a good job to just hold on for the moment. We see the sort of front of the pack now starting to get a little bit spread out as drivers start to find those individual battles. You can't take 3 or 4 cars at a time. You've got to pick them all one at a time. And that's kind of where everybody's slotting themselves into. It's an endurance race after all. So drivers here all trying to just maintain that consistency. Keep themselves in a position that they've got their tires for the full duration that they want to keep their tires. Of course, if those fall off before you have to go and make your mandatory stop, you're going to be losing timeouts on the board. Down in 19th place, or should I say 17th place, looks like Corne Strauss. He's got the likes of Antle and Deploy behind him. Deploy as the likes of Jason Webb. He's making his way up through the order, making his way through the pack. Started quite far down and is looking to get himself a little bit further up the order indeed. So Keegan Masters electing to stay in the Porsche. Daniel Rowe in the Audi. Dion Cap maybe looking to see if he can find an alternate line behind and see if he can find a way past. Good showing here from the K number 321 in his Ferrari. Dion was a bit of a late entry into the lead as far as I remember. And good to show him, good to see him showing what he's got towards the front of the order. But right now, what a drive coming out from Morgan McCall. He's actually managed to get himself away from Darren King. And he's starting to build up a little bit of a gap here. So 8 tenths is the gap that we read before after the timing line is 797 split being updated. So King keeping McCall a little bit in check, but at the same time, good job from McCall. He's not really under pressure. He doesn't have to go defensive at all. But he does have to just maintain those tires and make sure that he, again, keeps that consistency up. In the GT4s last night, had a little upset moment here, ran a bit wide. Zandvoort showing that it's not a circuit that you want to be able to run wide. If you don't collide with a barrier, it's generally a very slow exit back on track, or you've compromised a lot of time. So we see him kick out a little bit, goes a little bit wide, kicks up some dirt. The back end of the Merc steps out just a tiny bit. But not enough to compromise him. Does lose him a little bit of that gap that he's got out to King. But he just needs to keep it cool, calm, and collected. Masters and Cap will keep showing up on our timing splits, as will Leslie Oliphant and the likes of Alaric Enslin. Not an easy circuit to pass here. I mean, almost every place that you would like to make a move sees you getting forced to go around the outside. That's just not the racing line that you really need. So very limited times to go side by side. The start finish straights is your best bets. Coming down into turn 1. But again, it's all about those braking points, and you have to get yourself close enough to be able to outbrake the other driver. And sometimes it's just about setting yourself up for that long haul, the move in a couple of laps. You figure out where the driver in front sort of slows themselves down. See where you can maybe make up some time. You're always looking to just keep exploiting that out. So Daniel Rowe, he's fallen off the back end of Jason Absmeyer. He's got the likes of Paul Gabber from Team Tryhard behind. So battle between G4 Sim and Team Tryhard Racing, powered by Resource Complete, out on the circuit. And just behind Gerber is Bego Krobler, which of course is Gerber's teammate. So the two of them being able to work together to make their way through the order. The two Lamborghinis giving it what they've got out on the circuit. Check in with Leslie Oliphant. Let's drop down the order as well. See what's happening down with Corne Strauss. He's got himself all over the attack, or he is fully under attack from the likes of Antal. Antal looking to see where he can get past that Mercedes of Strauss. Mark Antal from Retro Esports Slipstream. So pit window opens up. It's opened up for an hour, so it opens after 20 minutes, and it stays open for an hour. So there we know for the rest of the season. I'll never have to check that again. Well, I probably will. But Antal doing a good job here to keep Strauss at bay, and that's just keeping him away from catching up to Albertine. Etienne Kleb from Amp to Play, one of Albertine's teammates. He's got the likes of King behind. King, of course, in that 222 Rad Racers Lamborghini. So quite a few Lambos being picked up. A car that was always called too tweaky in the old days, and twitchy, and just a handful. It's now been mastered up. People have figured out how to drive it, and a couple of updates to it from the sim side made it real competitive. Look at Grayling and Webb. Grayling and Webb, they are absolutely pushing here. They want to have a move on one another at some point. They're starting to lose time, getting caught up in front of other cars. Will someone jump into the pits a little bit early, I wonder? Get themselves out of some of the air? I don't know that it really does much with 40 cars on the grid. Almost guaranteed to come out behind someone. But Jason Webb doing a good job here to make his way back up through the order. Oh, big off coming out from Grayling. Steps very wide. May compromise some of that straight line speed, but the BM looking to cope with it okay. And under braking, not too much to play from the dirt on the tires. Gap up front though, Morgan McCall. So he's starting to perhaps run out of tires. And he's going to make a big mistake. He's going to go very deep. Darren King going to be allowed to go side by side shortly. And he's going to try and cut it back. He's going to try and switch. Oh, a little bit of contact coming through. And McCall goes around King. Not quite sure. Let's see if we can get a replay back. We've got a lot of liveries loaded up. So ACC hates when we jump back in the sim. So let's see if we manage to get back. Let's go and see a little bit of onboard here from King. This is where Morgan goes a little bit deep, and now coming on through. Gets on the brakes to slow down. Not sure if he made a bit of contact. Looked like a little bit of netcode coming through, of course. King is joining us out from the EU side of the world. But it will be a big spin around coming out from McCall, and he's dropped all the way down to 12th place after that. That's allowed Quaid Claessens to also catch back up here. Chris Shorter doing a great job up in 3rd place, potentially going to find a podium out. And Arne Visaki still also just lurking on the back end there at the same time. So a lot going on circuit at the moment. There are some stewards that we have in Raceface that look into incidents post-race. So once incidents are submitted, they do get looked into. But no live stewarding. And for now, the racing continues. So this little 3-man pack needs to almost work together to stay up with King up front. But there's no such thing in racing, is there? No such gentleman's agreement. It's flat out to the line. And it is really all about just making sure you hang on to the car in front. You don't get too caught up in your rear view mirror. You try and stay as aggressive as possible. That defensive line here at Zandvoort, yes, is also kind of the racing line as well, because there's not really anywhere to go. So as long as you're doing what you need to do, you're putting your car in the right place, that's all you need to do to remain in position. It takes an incredible bit of driving for someone to pull off an overtake. Robert's in the chat, Morgan's dad. Yeah, I did have a look back at the incidents. It looked like Morgan was maybe going a little bit round, and Dolking maybe got a little bit too close behind with netcode, but it did look like there was a little bit of a slide already going on there. But like I said, and then we've got the incident reviews. So just submit an incident report and let the stewards deal with that post-race. But now everybody needs to just get their head back where it should be, get focused. Morgan still out on circuit, still has a drive ahead of him. He's got the pace. I mean, he's currently sitting in amongst cars that are a little bit behind him, so in terms of times on the board. So if he can just get himself back up through, an hour left to go, pit window pending, you could even now maybe even go in for one of those early pit stops, I suppose. Let's put him into that position to do so. Daniel Rowan 10th with Paul Gerber behind him. That number 51. Keeping the pressure on. I want to see whose tires let go first in these cars across the different circuits, because the tire models in ACC, it's all about managing them. Just got to make sure you've got it till the end. It's always that initial push that punishes people. They need to almost stage the race. And up towards the front of the order, we saw Quade Claessens taking over second place. But Chris Shorter not looking to let him have it for too long. Putting some pressure on. And we see the Porsche wind itself away from the Audi. You don't have to have too much bias to know who I'm rooting for in this little battle. If you know me well enough. I want to see this 124 Porsche stay towards the front. I want to see a Porsche on the podium for sure. This is exactly what we want to see. Jaden Gambon, what a drive coming out from this EKZ man. I know he is also a driver that's relatively new to ACC, comes over from the GT Sports side on PlayStation. Very talented driver there, does a lot of painting on GT Sport for liveries, and looking to do some stuff out on ACC. Good to see him up into 23rd. I know he started further down the order, so EKZ will be happy with where they find themselves. E-Coat under a bit of pressure there from Van Kalla. The Rogue Racing number 19 holds on to 24th place. A little bit of an Audi battle between E-Coat, Van Kalla and Barkhuizen. As Van Kalla fakes a little bit of a dive on the inside, tucks back in. Christian Deploy from Ladden Esports. Lovely livery I must say so myself. I follow this man on Twitter. And good to see Ladden having a little dabble out here, getting some representation in the sim racing side. So deploy here. He's got DeCock driving in one of my White Rabbit gaming cars, the GTR, down in 28th place. Looks like a little bit of scrapage on the side of Victor's car. So perhaps seeing a little bit of a wall or another car early on. But he still takes the battle out. Hendricks from Amp to Play. Ren Sports, the 901 in 29th. He's in a lot of open air at the moment. Blue flags being waved out for some drivers that are going to have to get themselves out of the way. Kieran Patterson not having the best race that we've seen him have in all the seasons. Also boasting out that new livery for First Technologies. But expect to see this car up towards the front of the grid in races to come. Zandvoort also not everybody's favorite circuit. You know, his car looking like it's got some active air on the front, a bit of a damage coming out. So, unfortunate circumstances, maybe for Patterson there. Junior McCall also not having the best race out in 32nd at the moment. But again, a driver that I'll say, just keep your eye out for the rest of the season. Lots to come. Youngest driver on the grid too. By quite a margin, I feel. Very young and plenty of talent. He's looking to give Patterson a run for his money. Patterson looking very slow on the straights, so he's going to try and stay as defensive as he can. He's probably trying to extend that stint out so he needs to pit. Will be interesting to see if he goes in for a damage repair or not. I would expect not if he's trying to stay out on circuits longer. You compromise your own lap time and then add to it with the repair job out there. So it'll be good to see where he comes down. Rowe, Kaba and McCall all showing that they are on track at the same time. Kaba, yeah, we might be able to get a nice little rear view wing view. Resource complete, of course, our stream sponsor as well as the Team Tryhard Racing sponsor here. Nice coverage on the back wing. Down the start finish straight they go. Morgan McCall going to get forced around the outside. We've seen moves get done here. It sets you up for the next complex of corners. You just got to keep your car in the right place. He's going to go in and try a little bit of a cutback, in fact, is Morgan McCall. And not going to work out for him. He's going to have to settle back in. So that inside line working out from Kaba is going to hold off for the moment. I agree, Pomolo, that Ladden Esports livery looks so good. Look at the pressure coming out here. Morgan McCall doesn't want to let off. He does not want to lose out positions. And he's got Bego Krobler behind him. He's got the teammate that he's trying to pass here in front. Kaba trying to make his car as wide as possible. The Lambo Pseudo feels quite wide. The Batmobile out on circuit. They're catching up to Rowe, being pushed at all of the moments that they're out on circuit. A bit wide coming out from McCall there from the splitter cam. Does it compromise his exit? Does look like it has. Not going to hold on to Kaba into the chicane. That's a big touch coming out from Bego Krobler. And that is not what Morgan needed to have happen to him tonight. So, unfortunate circumstances there. Let's see if we can jump back 10 seconds. Bear with me whilst ACC catches up with itself to give us the replay. And we catch the very tail end of it, unfortunately. Oh, my heart goes out to Morgan here. Another little contact coming through. And Bego Krobler, a little bit of contact, and it will be the pits for Morgan. I feel like it's a good call to come in now. He's lost a lot of time. May as well make that pit stop as quick as possible. Quaid up towards the front. He's unfortunately let Darren King start to check out because he's been caught up with the battle with Chris Shorter behind. And Shorter just not... Oh, there's been a drive-through penalty coming out for speeding in the pit lane now as well. Did that go out to Morgan McCall. It didn't. It went out to Kieran Patterson, so he's picked up a drive-through down in 34th place. And that's not going to be what he wanted to get at all. Shorter wants to have a move. He wants to have a go, but he can't. He just cannot get alongside Claessens. And at every turn, he's got this blue Bentley of Visagie in that rearview mirror, pushing him to his limits as well. So it really is just a managing position here for Shorty. He needs to save these tires, because that's what will count at the end of the day. Immediately defensive goes Claessens, going to secure that inside line down into turn 1. And will Shorter have the legs to go round the outside. Helicam is needed. The cutback coming through. Shorter with some drive now. And Quade Claessens going to be in a little bit of trouble. And that's not the place that Shorter's going to be able to move. Good driving coming out from the Audi to not have a lunge and have a look on the inside. Settles back in. And the pressure starting to very much be applied here to the likes of Quade Claessens. And Visagie, step for step, matching the two in front of him, waiting for his opportunity to enter into this gladiator battle himself. And just look at the pressure coming out from Visagie. Very good exit coming through. Will he have the inside line here to have a look at Shorter? He's got the drive. Shorter will now have the inside for the next left hand around the outside. Visagie will have to go again. A little bit of contact between the two of them. Nothing too much to look at. Visagie does ease off, settles back in, and all of that then gives Quade exactly what he wanted. That breathing space, he needed it. Shorter was looking. Shorter wanted to have a move, and he needed Visagie to start to put his own on. So the two Team Tryhard Resource Complete Lamborghinis continue to make their way through the field. Gaber and Bego Grobler up into 11th and 12th place now. Albertine still here, hanging on in that Aston Martin, the 185. Looking to maybe take an inside line if it's given to him, but he's a couple of car lengths behind. I don't think that's the space to be able to do it. Corne Strauss under a little bit of an attack here from Johannes Greiling. I'm going to switch up to a splitter view from Greiling's car. We're going to take a short immersion break, and I'll be back with you in just a few. We are back. Thank you once again for joining us this evening for the opening round here of the Raceface GT3 Season 4. We had a little immersion break following along with Johannes Grayling as he trailed behind Strauss. Some very close moments coming in. Some potential nose-looking overtakes, and always like to see that splitter cam up on screen. So Tian Cap up into 5th place for KK Racing, that 321 Ferrari. Mark Tolkien in chat, screaming and shouting, and looking to show some support. So guys, don't forget, all your drivers, when they go back and watch the stream, they love to see the support coming out. It's always good to engage with you guys as well. 49 minutes of racing remains, and this season is going to be awesome. Of course, brought to you by Resource Complete and Black Ribbon Sim, our partners. Massive thanks to them. If you are looking to get involved with the racing, www.raceface.pro. Head over to the Discord channel. It's where most of the communications take place as well. Get yourselves registered to race 4 divisions currently running. We can open up a 5th if need be. And if you want to get involved in broadcasting or bringing some race action to the track, hit us up as well. Looking for broadcasters to bring the other divisions to light too. So 4 splits racing tonight. Over 150 drivers as far as I can gather. Over 100 were in the racing briefing. So it is going to be a good drive. Jason Absmeyer, a man that I haven't come over to much in the stream. He didn't have the best of seasons with Raceface last season. And good to see him registered back up here. Of course, drives for my team, White Rabbit Gaming. In his number 90. We've seen it so often. And a bit of a different carpet coming out. So he did tell me he was coming for a bit of a surprise. He was going to change things up. He needed to have a bit of a change up. Been driving a lot of ACC. And currently having a nice little battle on track with a good friend of his, Leslie Oliphant. And the two of them, lots of respect between each other. Audi versus McLaren. Pit stop still to be served, but currently 8th place for Jason. So he's looking good. He's looking comfortable. A couple of drivers have had some pit stops made early on. I have a pit tracking tool that I need to try out in the future races to be able to keep a track on how many pit stops drivers have made. That will be especially useful when you start to get to the longer enduros and the driver swaps and those kind of things that are planned out. So just stick with Raceface, stay with us. Lots of cool events planned up, and I love broadcasting and bringing the action for them. One of the communities that has reached out and been a big part of my sim broadcasting here in South Africa. Quade Claasen's on track in 3rd place. In that 1-2-4, still battling it out with Shorter. Let's see if we can get a rear-facing splitter cam here from Quade Claasen's. Get a nice engine note from here of the Porsche. No bias whatsoever. And a good race from them. But again, we've talked about it. As soon as this starts to happen, that gap to King just starts to expand. King's lucky, doesn't have Jordan Sherritt in this week's racing. Next week he'll be here. So Anna Vasaki, he's gone into the pits too. So he's gone in for a bit of an early stop. It looks like, get himself out of the traffic. And I've seen it in previous racing series. I honestly feel that a lot of the time, that early pit stop works out quite well. You know, it seems to reset drivers. They come back in cleaner air. They're not forced to battle on track, and they get a lot more out of the final set of tires, it feels like. So Claasen's and Shorter, they need to be careful here. because Versace was behind them. And he's now elected to stick himself into the pits under a strategy call. So let's see where Versace does come out after all of this. 35 minutes for that pit that pit window remains open for. I'm going to have to jump in and serve that mandatory tire change. King showing that he's got a little bit of pressure. That's Bernard King. He's got the likes of... Is that a back mark of... Oh no, it is Johannes Skreling behind him. It's not a back marker at all. It's for position. What happened to JZ Krobler? Something on lap 2, I think, from Molo. Not quite sure what happened out there. We also had Jason Webb drop out on lap 14. Kurt Glasshagen on lap 4. So we have had a couple of retirees from this evening's race. But it still looks like 30... I would say 36 cars are on the grid. Let's see if the basic HUD shows that 38 cars, it says, still racing out on the circuit. So with Versace's pit, that will promote Jan Kapp up to 4th place. Let's do a little full rundown of where things stand. Sort of mid-pit stop strategy. Darren King leads away for Fordzilla in that number 38 Ferrari. Quade Claessens for ATK Racing in that 124 Porsche in 2nd place. Chris Shorter in that number 33 Audi for CTS Motorsports in 3rd. Jan Kapp in 4th place. In that's number 321 Kaike Racing Ferrari. 5th place for Keegan Masters and G-Force Sim. Alaric Ensslin. And some good racing from him. And staying out on circuit a little bit longer. Up into 6th place. Jason Absmeyer up into 7th. 8th for Leslie Oliphant. 9th for Daniel Rowe. And 10th for Johan Bego Grobler. Paul Gaber. He is still putting that pressure on. Still trying to get past some of the back markers perhaps. And will be let through there by Patterson in that 1-2-3. A race where things haven't gone great is here for McCall. He's got himself past E-Code but finds himself down in 24th place. QQ in chat. He was driving in one of the other divisions. Says he was having a good race and was taken out by a bad rejoin. Again, those are things that you get to talk about in sim racing, and it's all things that hopefully the stewards can have looks into and remove and eradicate by the end of the season. It's always difficult to control, I suppose, but it does ruin racing for drivers when, you know, bad racing standards come out. Unfortunately, out for Morgan, he's had 2 incidents out that have not been the best race for him. So from the front of the order, he's now very much down, so we'll be losing out on a lot of points in the opening round. So a lot of drivers also just getting themselves out of the way of the front of the order. The stop go 30 coming out for Keegan Masters. So this is going to be a big one coming through. And that will have been awarded to him from the sim. So Keegan Masters is going to have to jump into the pits and serve that. That's going to cost him quite a few positions. So after serving his pits, obviously had a bit of a speeding incident coming out. So you can see here, Versace the leader of the pit stoppers so far. Masters was going to be in second place, but we'll have that stop go. Then Jason Absmeyer in third from the guys that have served those mandatory stops. The front of the order is pretty much still unstopped, and that's really what you'll see during these races is drivers staying out a little bit longer. Shorter into the pits, Gabe into the pits, and Antal into the pits. There's still 30 minutes of that pit window. You can pretty much pit up until the final 10 minutes. That last 10 minutes is going to be closed off for being able to serve those stops. But up until that point, you can really go in and just serve the stops that you want to serve. Corne Strauss also one to yet to go into the pits. The number 55, EKZ Yeet team. Having met Corne in real life, Yeet very much part of his personality. So an apt team name coming out. Johannes Grayling, he's still looking to get positions up. So whenever we switch over and we see Grayling on circuit, we seem to have him putting some pressure onto another driver. So Masters into the pits to serve that stop-go penalty. Barkhuizen and Vogel into the pits. Radloff pits to Claessens. Ensslin into the pits. So a bit of a busy pit box coming out. We get a nice little drive-by of that lovely Coach Dave Academy 889 BMW. Our lone BMW on the grid. In fact, as Masters going to be driving out after serving his stop-go. Very busy pit exit coming through. Albertine also coming into the pit box here. Radloff still stopped. He's been in here for a decent amount of time, driving for Sarko. Claessens into the pits. A lot of pits being served right now from drivers. Hannes van Veek into the pits. Garen King, he stays out. Cap stays out. That means he takes over second place. Leslie Oliphant takes over third. And they're all in their own fresh sort of air. Everybody peeling off behind them has given them a very similar situation, really, to what those drivers will be trying to get themselves with going into the pits ahead of other people. So we'll start to see where things stack up. Claessens does get out ahead of Arne Versace, does he? He does indeed. So now this will be interesting to see how these two fare up against one another. Our leader, Darren King, will go into the pits. So King, Cap will stay out for another lap. Oliphant will stay out for another lap. Bego Krobler doesn't. He dives into the pits. Grayling stays out for a lap. Victor de Kock stays out for another lap. Peters stays out for another lap. And yeah, that's the battle that we want to see. It's Quaid and Versace. All eyes on these two for now. Of course, Versace did go in for that early stop, right? So he kind of wanted to get ahead of the likes of Quaid. He has managed to slot himself ahead of Shorter. So Shorter lost out quite heavily there in his pit stops. Claessens and Versace will have a look side by side into turn 3. But it's not going to be there. So there is Darren King out of the pits. So this has definitely made things quite interesting. So King comes out of the pits just ahead of the likes of Claessens and Versace. But right there, so those early pit stops definitely brought that time differential down. But it feels like Quaid's caught himself in a very similar position to what he had earlier when Shorter was behind him. And Versace here might be the reason why he doesn't hold on to King. So it'll be interesting to see. We'll see Cap diving in. Leslie will stay out for another lap. As Victor doesn't have a choice just yet. He's still going to get passed out by our race leaders when all pit stops have been served out. So only Oliphant and De Kock to pit. Will be interesting to see if De Kock goes into the pits now or he stays out for another lap. So he will go into the pits. And it will just leave Leslie to serve his stop. So, I mean, he's still got 25 minutes to go. But at the same time, you do have to change your tires over. So, I guess you want to get as much grip as you can out of that second set without losing much on your first set. Well, I guess it's the balance between them. Is that times I've been a little bit slower, but again, could also be caught up in traffic. Can't just attribute it purely down to tire wear and degradation on the circuit. But King really is flying on his new set of tires. Going to pass Ecoat, who stays wide to let the leaders through. Claessen's has found just a couple of car lengths to the likes of Vasaki behind him on our 28th lap here at Zandvoort. Raceface GT3 Season 4 opening round. Registrations will remain open for the entire season. So Leslie Oliphant stays out again. Yet to go into the pits. So he's obviously playing for a very long strategy. Trying to extend that first stint as much as he can. So after the pit stops have been served, let's see where things stand. So Darren King will lead us. Quade Claessens will then be in second. Arne Vasaki in third. Chris Shorter in fourth. Alaric Enslin in fifth. Sixth for Dian Kapp. Seventh for Jason Absmeyer. Eighth for Morgan McCall. And ninth for Daniel Rowe. 10th for Johan Bego Grabler. So the top 10 definitely changed up a tiny bit there with the pit stops. I just want to see where Leslie actually elects to come into the pits. I wasn't quite sure of where he was tracking behind. I guess he was behind. I mean, he was sort of fighting out with Jason Absmeyer. He was just behind him. So maybe looking to come out in 8th or 9th. Will be interesting to see where he slots himself out. So let's see if we can find some battles for position. This looks like Kleb and Klue for 26th and 27th. 2 tenths between them. And then Ecoat and De Kock also on circuit and very close to one another. So just going to keep my eye out and see how De Kock comes through here. He does have a back marker in front of him that he needs to get past before he can get up to Ecoat. So that's going to cost him some time for sure. That gap between Kleb and Klue is definitely staying relatively tight and close. And it looks like Peter's also into this as well. So if we go on to this little onboard from the Bentley, from the SRC Bentley, get to track along as he follows behind Klue. And they, of course, just lead on the likes of McCall. He's 3.6 seconds down the road. Oh, getting almost very deep on the brakes there, Peters. Slows the Bentley down. Anchors dropped from the Bentley into the chicane. It was a little bit of a hair-raising moment. Almost had the no, no, no sound coming out. And Luckily, we didn't have to bring it down. So, Ecoat still has Patterson between him. And Patterson... Is it Patterson or is... No, it's not Patterson that's between them there. I think it's Leslie. Yeah, it's Leslie staying out on circuit for a little bit longer. So he's not a back marker between them. He's actually, I guess, a leader, but also on a different strategy. So he's on very old tires. Will be going a lot slower. And in theory is behind them. In theory is behind them once he serves that pit stop strategy coming out. So I wonder, does he get the blue flags waved for him in this position? Or do the drivers in front of him get blue flags? I guess they do because he's first on the circuit. But yeah, definitely not really blue flags, I suppose. And he'll be struggling to get past drivers that he catches up to in this sort of pace. So he's kind of stuck here in between a battle that would be for 19th and 20th place with those older tires. So I feel potentially the longer strategy here might not work out the greatest in terms of what is being lost out on. Looked like Victor de Kock ran a little bit wide coming through as well into turn 1. But up towards the front then, King has definitely started to enjoy that new set of tires. 29 minutes left of the race, so the final 30 minutes coming down. Based on where they all pitted, they should have tires till the end. A lot of them didn't pit too early on, sort of pitted midway in. Which in an hour and 20 minute race, maybe the last 10 minutes for some of them, going to be a little bit air raising, grip wise. And some big lag coming out from, I believe that's Etienne Kleb, in terms of that white car on circuit. And he's causing a big issue out on circuit. He's actually taking cars out, and this car needs to be removed from the grid immediately. I don't know if I can actually type in here. Let me try and see if I can type, because so I've just had to quickly jump into this and see if we can get Kleb to retire out here. This is a terrible situation for him, as he's actually taken out a couple of cars on the circuit from what I could see there. It's a bit of a bad side to sim racing, I suppose, if someone has a bad connection coming out. And Kleb there, that car going very unpredictable out on the circuit. And hopefully he got that message coming through. Yeah, Jared, it's unfortunate circumstance indeed. I do apologize to all of our stream viewers as well that that's happened out. It's not something we want to see, and typed him a message to try and get him to disconnect coming out. And I'm not sure if it was for everybody out on the circuit. It looked like just one car to me. But it looks like things have kind of calmed themselves back down. Ensslin into third place here. So up onto the podiums. I know that Chris Shorter had a little bit of an incident in all of that. He's been damaged. Cap into fourth place. Johan Bego Krobler into sixth. Seventh for Daniel Rowe. Morgan and Jason have changed out places. Eighth and ninth place for them. And still a battle out on circuit for the two of them. Paul Gerber, he's got himself into the top 10. So the team Tryhard Racing Lamborghini's really doing a good job here today. Getting themselves some nice manufacturer and constructor points, as well as some good team points for themselves. And looks like Jason putting a lot of pressure here on to Morgan McCall. He's going to go onto the inside line almost immediately. Cannot keep up with that Merc in a straight line, it seems. Going to look again down the inside. And Morgan going to give the space there for Jason to make the move. So Jason gets by. Gerber looking to also get in on this action. He's going to just hold on there and see if he can make some moves. Always gotta keep yourself in it to win it. Especially when there's potential drivers making moves on one another. Some really nice lines coming out from Gerber here, trying to maximize that drive out of the corners. He's got a little bit of slip to work with as well in the straight lines. It's all about that exit down the start-finish straight. This is where he has to keep himself neat and tidy. This is where he's got to hold on. And out of the chicane, runs a little bit wide. Will lose the back end of the AMG in front of him temporarily. Second last corner. Now into the last corner. It's one big sweeper. Oh, and he's lost it. He's lost it coming out. And a big off for Paul Gerber and a big wall collision. Zandvoort claims a victim and a top 10 finish maybe off the cards here. Gerber, I'm not sure if he can nurse this car home, but a lot of damage coming out. He's going to have to drive it into the pits. 23 minutes of racing. And Leslie Oliphant will come in, swoop up that position for himself. And that's some of the detriments of racing hard. Unfortunately, not working out for Gerber there. First Technology, Patterson Works, number 10. Or sorry, in 10th, the number 187. So unfortunately, his teammate Kieron not having the best of races this evening. But some good championship points potentially up for grabs here. Oliphant just keeps it between the lines here. Ansel, King, and Grayling all for position 13th through to 15th. Porsche, Lamborghini, and BMW. Three little manufacturer battle between them. And King is feeling that pressure from Grayling for sure. A little bit wide on the exit. We've seen a couple of cars take that line out. Sometimes so hard to control the understeer out from the chicane though, so we can understand. Very wide again. Oh, very, very dicey down the straight. Ansel says, this inside line is mine, mate. Round the outside goes King, and he stays round the outside. He's a nose ahead, so he'll have the inside line for the next part, but then he'll be on the outside. He needs to get back across. He does, so nice little move coming out there from Bernard King. Mark Ansel loses one position. Must be careful now not to lose out to Grayling behind as well. Ensslin coming back into sim racing in South Africa. Finds himself in 3rd place. Will be very chuffed with that in his BMW for sure. Still 20 minutes of racing remains though, so potentially upsets. We've seen them happen before. Dare I say it, we've seen drivers run out of fuel before. But a very good drive coming out so far from the young man. I'll be interested to see in the chat who you guys feel deserves a potential Driver of the Day award. I mean, do we have any elected drivers so far? Bego Krabler's been making some good moves up. I know they started quite far down the order. We definitely need to start getting some Driver of the Day votes included in our broadcast at some point. So if you guys do have any suggestions, feel free to shout out your Drivers of the Day, and we'll have a vote towards the end for sure. But we can start getting some potential votes, and we can follow along with them and follow their narratives. Dion Cap coming out from Robert Rentworth. I think that's a very decent nomination for sure. Just had a nice and clean and tidy race. Done what he's needed to do. And within the top 5. I think Arno Versace, he was having a good drive. He had a disconnect, so he hasn't really made it to the end of the race, but he was having a good race. Pomolo also voting for Dion. I think not a bad vote coming out. A lot of Kaike Racing fans certainly wanting to see their boy take home a Driver of the Day. That's what it's all about. Some engagement with the viewers. Jam Muten. Oh, so Shorter and Bego Krabler, a little bit of contact together. Let's see if we can catch that. We do freak out ACC every time we try and catch a replay, and we're gonna have to have a little look back and see what's happened here. So does Shorter lose it a little bit coming through? Oh, a little bit of a take the inside line coming out from Bego Krabler through there. I feel like Bego Krabler, although he's had a good race, might have some shoot inquiries coming down. We'll have another look on the inside here of Shorter into turn 1. This time it's a better look, and we'll get the drive through. So we'll get the position over Shorter coming into turns 3 and 4. And that number 33 going to hold on. Lots of Dion votes. Mark also voting for Dion. Dion had to endure some lag issues. Car teleported inside his car. We saw those lag spikes coming through. Arno is voting for himself. Arno, I like it. I would vote for myself as well. Arno got hit by Kleb's lag, so that took Arno out. Oh, it's going to be a tough call for Driver of the Day. If you guys haven't left a like on that stream, please leave a little cheeky thumbs up. I need it. You know, it always goes out to growing the channel, getting more people involved. The more engagements we get, the more likes, the more shares. It just helps us grow the channel, grow sim racing. So it costs you guys nothing. If you haven't, please leave a like. You can leave a dislike as well. I mean, I don't mind. I'm happy with what you want to do. But we've had some good racing so far, and the rest of the season is going to be lit. If it can keep growing like it's growing, I know that we've got Sherritt joining us next week as well. So King's not just going to have an easy scrap out the front. Morgan was going to take some of that fight out to him too. Hasn't had the best race for ATK himself, but you know, racing is racing, and every race is different. So for the moment, looks like Ansel and Strauss going to be dancing out here at Zandvoort for a bit. There's not quite the gap that the timing sheet showed us. Maybe I caught them as they were coming into the braking zone for the chicane. But a very solid drive coming out from a lot of drivers here. And I know that the pro split was something that I was looking forward to, and I have not been. Look at the speed of that Mercedes down the straight. Almost gets alongside. Will he try for a little bit of a cutback coming through? Or has to wrestle with a bit of oversteer, does Cornet Strauss. But just look at that sheer speed down the straight of that Mercedes versus that Porsche. If Strauss can keep it closer into the exit corners, that's where his move is going to be. Down that start-finish straight into the braking zone of Tarzanbacht. Sean here in the chat as well. Godfather, one of my fellow sim racing homies and members of White Rabbit Gaming. If he's typing a message here, makes me feel like he's not at the best race in his race lobby. But again, hopefully throughout the season all the racing gets better and better. If there are incidents, they get weeded out by the stewarding. So many drivers have registered up for this. There are new faces. There's people that are going to be new to sim racing in general, I suppose. The pro tier so far, been some great racing on the circuit. I've been really enjoying just tracking along with the progress. As we see Strauss trying to get closer to Ansel. This is that corner I said he needs to stay closer on. He's not quite there. Let's see if he still has the same straight line speed that we saw. And he really does. Just look at that. Almost overtakes him down the start finish straight. And that's why Ansel has to go defensive every time. Now, will the cutback come back in? Has to keep it clean. A little bit of a contact on the rear end. Backs off as he knows the cutback hasn't worked out. Shorter here. Under attack from Jason Absmeyer in a very damaged car. And I feel like that was damaged by that lagging car on circuit. Jumping around caused a little bit of havoc in the middle of the race, I must be honest. And Cornet Strauss, Chris Shorter, you might have a little bit of a blessing here in the fact that Leslie Oliphant is also in this. So Leslie and Jason, we saw them on circuit together early on. And two good friends in the sim racing community and outside of it too. Always good to see them drive inside for the McLizzy of Absmeyer, as does Leslie. I think that Shorter knows that he can't really defend too hard against these guys as well with a damaged car. So he's doing the better thing and not impacting their racing. But some nice position changes in the last minutes for both these drivers. Pomolo saying he might open a fans only to get some sim gear after seeing how good this race was. Maybe Pomolo, we can do a little collab together. I was thinking of starting the same thing. But I need to spend mine on getting some racing lessons. If you guys have not heard about it, Speed Labs is a coaching initiative that is offered by Raceface. Often some discount coupons offered out and some group training lessons as well. Jordan Sherritt and Bruno Cadili, two of the coaches that are out there helping you get faster and guaranteed to make you quicker and give you some better insights into the circuit. So if you guys want to head on over to the Speed Lab side, go over to the Raceface website and go and have a look at the Speed Labs offerings. The battle on track though between Leslie Oliphant and Jason Absmeyer definitely heating up. Yassine Manuel asking, is there Raceface GT3 racing every week? There is indeed. We actually have the GT4s on Wednesday nights at 8:30, and then on Thursdays the GT3s come out, and it's the same circuit. It's an endurance race on the Thursday is an hour and 20 minutes of racing. The GT4s do a 45-minute sprint. So plenty of racing. Oh, look at Leslie. He's getting closer and closer. Ian asking if fans only is the Taxify of OnlyFans. But fans only is where I get to sell my fans. You know, I'm big into computer fans, RGB fans. That's where I get to, sell nice pictures of fans. I really want to see where this goes. Jason and Leslie always give me a good battle out on circuit. So final 10 minutes. It's going to be a race to the wire between these two. Elsewhere on circuit, Strauss and Masters, they find themselves in similar situations. Antel, E-Coat, and the Clock are all very close to one another. Oh, sorry, that's Vincala actually. That's just ahead of them. Pit window closes up, so if you haven't done it, you are in trouble and you need to abort the race because you'll be disqualified. Everybody has served that. We're in the pro lobby, so we'd expect that to be done. And Victor de Kock putting a lot of pressure here onto the likes of Mark Antel in front. A little bit damaged is that Porsche. We saw him struggling down the straights against Corne Strauss, so Victor just has to make sure that he holds on in the right. You can hear him lifting off. He has nowhere to go. He can't go around the outside. He has to just ease off. He has to just follow behind until there's a safe place to pass. And that's just Zandvoort for you. So Victor doing a good job to keep himself in a good position. Has to be careful of Grayling behind him. Can't get stuck behind Ansel for too long. Can't be lifting when there's an aggressive number 16 BMW putting his foot onto the accelerator down into the closing phases of the race. And this is where the GTR needs to do it. Out through the chicane and into the final two corners. This is going to be some good racing for sure. Victor de Kock now needs to get onto that loud pedal. You'll see the inside line from Ansel is going to be secured if he tries it. Oh, big touch coming out, and a little bit too eager perhaps coming out there from Victor trying to get past, and the collision coming through between them. And that is unfortunate to see in the closing phases of the race between them. Drivers coming down the line will be making up pit positions. Back over to Absby and Olifant though. They're definitely also still scrapping it out. Will Olifant try around the outside? Inside comes from Jason. Going to go very deep on the brakes. He's made a big mistake. And that's the mistake that Jason didn't want to make. Losing the car through a little tap onto Olifant. Not on purpose though, as he was out of control. But that will be the position to Olifant. So the pressure comes out. And the First Technologies BWSR Racing team gets themselves up into 7th place now with 7 minutes left to go. Is this Van Koller now starting to close down? Looks like Strauss lost that position out to Masters on the previous lap. That Mercedes not looking the happiest for Strauss at the moment. Van Koller in a good position here again. These final two corners, they need that drive down. Does Strauss go to defend the inside line? He's got that Merc with that straight line speed, it seemed, over the Porsche, although it was a little bit damaged. We'll come back across the line just ahead of Van Koller. E-Coats and Grayling a decent distance apart here. Mark Antel still struggling. He's picked up a lot of damage after that collision as well, and now some of the front runners going to be coming to pass the back markers. That will be Alaric Ensslin flashing his lights here to the 111, and space will be left round the inside, in the inside for Ensslin to get by. Cap, Mr. Consistency, hasn't been featured too much in the comms, but what a drive coming out and sitting in 4th place for the moment. A very comfortable one at that. Daniel Rowe is 18 seconds down the road. Gap's only 3.5 seconds behind the likes of Alaric Ensland. So, just goes to show what a consistent drive can do for you. Bego Krobler. He's within a second's reach of Daniel Rowe. Last 5 minutes of racing remaining. Darren King up at the front still leads us away. He really hasn't had to do too much after a very early battle with Morgan McCall. His last lap was a 1:36.7, now 1:36.5. So he is losing a little bit of lap time on those older tires. A 1:37.0 coming out from Quaid, so he's not looking on the money in terms of pace to catch up to the likes of King. It's 4 minutes of racing remaining. Kind of expected there at this stage. If you're not right on the bumper of someone, there's not much that's going to change up unless there's a catastrophic incident. Just pull up our timetable. Yeah, we can see a listing of everybody down to 24th place. King Claassens, Ensland, Cap, Rowe, Bego, Krobler, Olifant, Absmeyer, Shorter, McCall, Albertine, Van Veek, King, Masters, Strauss, Van Kaller, Ecoat, Grayling, Gambon, Peters, Barkhazen, McCall, De Kock, Clue, Antel, Vogel, Duploy, Radloff, Gabber, and Lewis still in the race here. Looks like Sean Skitter has retired to the pits as Noah Hendricks hasn't. Or is Skitter just in the pits repairing damage at the moment? It looks like he might be a little bit damaged up there. Not 100% sure. Very damaged up car. And he's going to lose that position out to Noah Hendricks after going into the pits. So even down at the back of the order, drivers still changing positions up. Strauss has done a good job here to just keep Van Kaller behind him. Bego Krobler is definitely closing down. Oh, I say that. Bego Krobler runs wide into turn 1. He had made up almost half a second in that last lap. And we're going to be going over to what should be our last lap very, very, very shortly as Darren King comes down to the final chicane. So this should be our second last lap, I suppose. Doing 1:36 is out on the circuit. Let's see where he crosses the line. So we should have another 2 laps to go. Well, sorry, we should finish on... I don't actually know. It will be close. Depends how King pushes this. He can either finish out the race at the clock, or he can push for an extra lap on the circuit. So if your fuel light is flashing, you're going to be hoping that he finishes on this lap. Chris Shorter managing to keep a very damaged Audi out on the circuit in a very competitive manner. He's been very gentlemanlike in moving out of the way where he's been in no position to defend against drivers, but at the same time still staying out and doing decent laps for himself. He's lapping quicker than a lot of drivers are doing in fixed and mended race cars. So he's going to force McCall to work hard for this pass. He wants to stay well within this top 10. Morgan McCall going to be looking everywhere to try and get by. Shorts are going to be staying ultra defensive where he can. And it's going to be very difficult to keep the likes of Morgan McCall at bay. Darren King. 20 seconds on the clock. I think he's going to make it to the line to give us another lap out here. 18 seconds on the clock. We'll cross over the line to go into the final lap. So this is not what Chris Shorter would have wanted. He would have wanted the race to have ended now, but the timing not working out there. So this is going to leave things up to the wire between McCall and Shorter. Damaged Audi versus maybe a slightly damaged Mercedes. The front end there looking like the bonnet kind of popping. But again, Morgan hasn't got himself into that overtake position here, into what will be the start of the final lap in just a few seconds. Van Coller, he stays on the very back end of Strauss, and a collision coming through. Van Coller has collided with Strauss here. And Van Coller is waiting. He knows he's caused that, but Strauss not going to be able to get the car around in time. He will see Darren King drive by as the race leader. The number 38 Fordzilla Ferrari goes round the final corner for the final time here in round 1 of the Raceface GT3 Season 4, and will crown himself the victor. Darren King takes home first place. Quade Claessens will dive to the line and finish up in second place for ATK. Solid drive coming out from Quade there, and Alaric Enslin for Coach Dave Academy will round out the podium positions. Dion Cap for Kaike will cross the line in 4th place. 5th place should go to Daniel Rowe. Penultimate corner and final corner to go. Here goes Daniel Rowe down to the line. We'll cross the line in 5th place. 6th place to Johan Bego Krobler. 7th to Leslie Oliphant for First Technologies Patterson Works Racing. Jason Absmeyer crosses the line for White Rabbit Gaming. Chris Shorter sees the car to the line. And Albertane, there too. A couple of drivers jumping out, so it's going to mess up the standings for as I read them out, unfortunately. But the final standings will all be posted out to Discord as well as to social media. So if you haven't followed Raceface out on Twitter, Facebook, all those places, please don't hesitate to go and do so. So guys, that kind of wraps up the racing here for race 1 of the new season out here at Raceface. It was a really good race. I enjoyed it. A couple of moments that maybe people will want to look into. Some incidents I'm sure will be reported. I think that's part of racing though. I think you can't always have picture perfect events, and sometimes, you know, things happen on circuit. So if there are drivers that are aggrieved by it, just remember there are stewarding places, there's channels to follow. Really good race coming out, a solid performance to our top 3. From next week, I'm going to bring in some driver interviews once again. I've got some new scenes and layouts set up. Thanks again to the entire community for joining me in the chat. You guys have been awesome. It's been great reading your comments as we've gone through this race together. It really hasn't felt like 80 minutes of racing has flown by. So guys, thanks a lot. I'll see you next week. We go to GT4 on the Wednesday, and then we go to GT3 again on Thursday. I have no idea what tracks we go to be honest, because I haven't followed the calendar. I know what they should be, but it'll be a surprise. Follow us on social media. See you guys next week.